Good afternoon and welcome. Please sit. Right. I am Nigel Whitehall, your president in Mass. This is why I look like without a mask. Just in case you don't know me, welcome and thank you so very much for coming here this afternoon. This is our first branch meeting after the onset of COVID. Like I said, I'm very grateful for your attendance, and I promise you a truly good evening full of information. This afternoon's proceedings will be conducted by Vice President, Ms. Fairburg. I just want to wish you a safe meeting and continue to practice and follow all the protocols by our Ministry of Health and Wellness. We have done very well so far as a country, and with your help and your continued regiment to the protocols, we will continue to do very well as a country. And notwithstanding the fact that we have kept our borders open, we can pride ourselves in doing the right things, following best practices always. I encourage St. George North family, always follow best practices, always follow the science, always follow the advice. You will hear more on this from your MP when he addresses you later, but as a constituency, as a community, as a society, we want to ensure we do our part to maintain our vigilance and keep our guards up in relation to the COVID-19 protocols and the way we fight COVID-19. Again, let me thank you very much before I hand over proceedings to Ms. Fairburg. Welcome and thank you.
Thank you very much to our president, Mr. Nigel Whitehall. As he would have indicated, my name is Fairburg. I'm the vice president, and I will be chairing this evening's proceedings. Let me first say thank you for Nigel for doing the welcome, so I can now take that off. And thanks all of you for being here this evening. We are very grateful that we are blessed with wonderful weather. We were a little uncertain what the weather may have been this evening, but it has held up greatly. So it's great to see all of you here this evening. For those of you who are now entering, there are some chairs on the other side. There are some available chairs on the other side. There are also a few chairs a little closer to the front. You know, we like to enter and sit at the back. So feel free to come a little closer to us. You are wearing your mask, so we're a bit safe this evening. And thanks to all of you for adhering this evening, for wearing your mask. We would have indicated that we wanted you to wear your mask, so thank you very much. We look forward this evening to having a very dynamic meeting here this evening. We are hoping that it is not really a monologue, but we are hoping that it is a conversation. This is the first time in a while that we would have met, or we would be meeting as a family, as a St. George North family, as a Barbados Labour Party family, as citizens in general of Barbados. So we ask you to participate this evening, and we welcome you again here. I am going to turn over to our Member of Parliament. He has been the Member of Parliament, this is 26 years. He's been doing a stellar, thank you. And 26 years is not a short time. Some of us have not even reached 26 yet. That would not include me, of course. But I do see a little one in here who's not 26 as yet. So we thank him as well for continuing to work tirelessly on behalf of not just the Barbados Labour Party, but Barbados in general. And the last, or the ongoing pandemic has been very trying, but he has been on the road every day ensuring that the people of St. George North are adequately represented, doing whatever he can to provide for them. So without further ado, I'm going to turn over to Mr. Glenn Clark, our parliamentary representative.
Thank you. Thank you, Faye, Vice President of St. George North. I'm indeed happy. Shall I stand or? I'm here, safe? Okay, thank you. I heard a voice. Good evening to everyone. I'm indeed pleased to be here once again. You know, I really enjoy every time I come here, because it is here that we have won every election since 1994, and I can't help but thinking that we are in good company here, and this is truly a BLP innovation. As you would recall, this center here was opened by David Simmons in 2001, around there, and since then we have won all the elections that was counted here. All the votes are counted here every election time. So I want to say this is a good innovation, and the people of St. George North have treated me very well and kind. I think it's a love relationship between myself and the people of St. George North. And we have won all the boxes in the last general election, and I suspect that we'll win all the next general election as well, whoever ran for the Barbados Labour Party. But I want to say that this evening is special, and of course, I know that most of you are wearing your masks, and you know you're doing the things that are important to keep you safe, and that is important because this is the first meeting that is being held since the COVID pandemic, and it is important that we meet from time to time. Many of our people have been meeting through Zoom, and we have been doing a number of things online. And I must say that the people of St. George and in North, people of Barbados, have been very helpful to the people of Barbados, especially the most vulnerable. During the COVID time, we were exposed to a number of challenges, which we have somewhat overcome. We have not got there yet, and I'll explain why we have not got there yet. But I'm very thankful to the committee that we had. We have a very vibrant committee, and I want to thank all the members. They don't want to be identified, but we have a good group, and this group step up to the plate. We have persons who went out there and solicited funds, solicited food stuff. The first person that came on the evening, I remember on the evening that was announced that we are shutting down, a young lady from the south. She called me and said, look, I am going to donate to you the first 200 masks. I had never seen this lady in my life. Just called and said, look, I'm going to donate things to you. So we had persons donating. We had neighbors, and I believe we want to welcome the chairman of the Barbados Labour Party, Minister K. McConney. Let's welcome to St. George North. Thank you. So I was saying that we encountered a good time, and since then the people of St. George stepped up to the plate, and they have given of their time. People give of whatever they had. And I want to thank all those persons who have given to the most vulnerable in Barbados, because, you know, there are people from different color, not only black, but whites, Indians, everyone chipping. I saw a group of Indians in St. George giving out food stuff. Whites came to my office and brought food stuff. Persons of all color, came and donate. And I think it is a very good thing. And we want, especially on behalf of the people of St. George, to applaud those persons who give. Let's give them a round of applause. Right. And, you know, they have continued to give. There are people continuing to give. At this time, we still have a number of persons who are unemployed. They have a number of persons who have families. I met 2 persons who live in the same household, working at the same company, at a hotel, and they're unemployed with 4 children, and they have not received any NIS. When last I checked, I don't know what the problem. I don't know if they had enough contribution or not, but they said that they have not received any. And we are continuing to give. There are persons who are disabled, and I know, I know Jessica and Faye do not want me to call their names, but they have been working at Roger, and Cleveland, and Roger. All persons have been working, our group, and they have done exceedingly well. We have persons who are medically challenged, and this group have been going out and helping. And I want to encourage all of you to give whatever you have to help those most vulnerable people, because, you know, only 2 weeks ago, I had a chance to go to the court with a young lady who did not, 5 children for the same man, and have not given a single cent from 2017, have not given that young lady anything. I want to encourage men especially. If you have children, please, don't let your children suffer. They do. And they want food. So you have to give some help. Now, I believe that we have not gotten garnished wages yet. Legislation do not give us the right to garnish people's wages. But it's a bad thing when people are not supporting their children. At the same time, I want to encourage the women folk to ensure that the men see their children, because sometimes they claim that this is a problem. We have to do better. I spoke about it in Parliament, and I'm very passionate. I must say, I'm very passionate. I feel very strongly that persons must support their children, because when you go there and you see 4 little children looking at you without food, I don't like that. So we have been given. We have been given. You know, one evening I remember going to St. Joseph one evening, and I saw a young lady at the bus stop. So wait, and when I came back down, she was still at the same bus stop. I said, what is happening? She did not have $3 to go to the court. When I found out, I said, come and let me talk to her. She has 5 children there with her. What is the problem? No support. And she was going to get in the bus, hopefully, to get to the court at St. Joseph. So I want to encourage you. It's one of the areas that we have to step up on in the next couple of years. We really got to do something about it. And I'm going to promise you that I'm going to really, at our next convention, which is October, that resolution, we must bring a resolution asking the party to agree that we do something about persons who are not getting that sort of support. Maintenance is still a big problem for families in Barbados. But I want to thank all of you for coming this afternoon. And of course, we are streaming live, so persons across the diaspora, Barbados, they are hearing and viewing this occasion. Today is the 26th of July. Today is the day that they said tonight is a funny day. Remember that famous quotation? Tonight is a funny day. Today is a funny night, whatever it is tonight. But the question is that it is on this day started the democracy of Barbados really started, where we had to abandon to some extent, the regimental system that was used at the time. It was on this day, 83 years ago, that persons challenged the system. And out of this revolt came our democracy. It is out of this revolt came political parties, came unions, and it came the right to vacation, right for workers' rights, and so on. And therefore, I would want on this occasion for us to stand as a means of showing solidarity for those brave forefathers who took the step. And of course, people like Sir Grant Lee, people like Monsieur Cox, Errol Barrow, right through the list. Those first men and women, brave, so that today we have a vibrant democracy. So let's stand today in solidarity of those first heroes. Just for 1 minute, second. Okay, thank you. Now, today I want to look at some of the things that we have done over the years, St. George, where we are going. And one of the things that we want to do as a group, to invite persons from the various communities across St. George from time to time to come, because these meetings are not only for BLP supporters, they are for all people in the community, from the various villages, from the various heights, wherever you are. We want to invite persons. And I know that there are people who called me today and said to me, we cannot come today because the notices were given out late, but we are going to watch you and listen to you on the streaming. So there are people who are visiting and listening to us. Unfortunately today, we had a murder in Rowan's Park area. And we are very sorry this happened. We want to sympathize with the family. You know, it's right here in our backyard. Problems of violence is still with us. The government is trying its very best to do the things to ensure that we have a safe society. But you, the families, must do as well. Parents, guardians, men and women must pull the weight to ensure that we have a safe society. It is unfair, and we are calling on all the authorities to ensure, because the government alone cannot do it. We as a community group must step up to the plate. And that's why I want to again thank Faye and Roger and Jessica and the group who, if you notice what is happening as you come in here, as you come into this complex, as I said before, it was built by the Barbara Slayer Party. But several years ago, this complex was run down by the last government, even though it was only built in 2001, complete in 2001. But if you go outside now, you will see nice gardens. You will see that they have started a program to upgrade and to renovate and to uplift. Whatever word you use, this committee is doing this to uplift this. I want you all to look as you go outside this evening to see the grounds that is happening around here. Because we recognize that the government alone can't do everything. But, you know, they have to pay people to do it. And that's why we say we got to pull our pockets sometimes to give donations. The most donation we have, we can do it. But we do not only want donations to clear the weeds or to paint the surroundings. We want donations to help clear some villages. I went into Sweetwater. I see bush all around the playing field. As I travel through Rowan's Park and St. Jude's and Gun Hill, you have trees upon trees and bush upon bush, even though the government has already given in this financial year 12, 14 persons to help. But 14 persons in this village, because the government has taken on 14 people to work in the NCC to clear. We were able to clear some of the village, some of the grass and shrubs and bushes around the police station. That was in a mess. We are doing Gun Hill. Sweet Bottom is in need. Rose Park, St. Jude's, Market Hill. Wherever you go, there's a lot of bush. We have to clear it. Only a couple of weeks ago, a lady got out her car around before 7 o'clock in Sweet Bottom, and she was robbed. A car was taken from her because she had bush and grass and things all around. So we have to be able to help. Within our community, there are still a number of elderly people who are living alone. We need to help them. We went into places across. You know, this COVID has taught us a lot. Because I believe Roger Noah for his first time a place across St. George. He did not only know Lower State, but he knew what is happening in Sweet Bottom. He knew what was happening to Market Hill. And Jessica, we know Jessica is from the older clan, and she would have known these things years when Jack was here. But of course, you know, over time, things have gone away. But she noticed, and the team noticed, a lot of problems with the elderly, which make your heart vomit, make your heart feel bad. That there are people who live in situations where they can't help themselves. Old people sometimes don't even get a nourishing meal. So we have to be able to step up. So the COVID-19 has taught us a lot, that we have to give and give more. And I want to thank, you know, Jessica is telling me don't call names, but I want to thank the Sandy Lane Trust in particular, because the Sandy Lane Trust give vouchers for mothers who have children, and we give vouchers to persons who are not working, and they give us, I think, over $50,000 each constituency. Let's give a hand to Sandy Lane Trust. And when you talk about Black Lives Matters, you know, Black Lives Matters too. But I'm telling you, there are some white people in this constituency and in this community that have helped. So when we talk white, Black Lives Matter, I think it is all lives matters, all life. And we have to be very cognizant of this, that there are people in our community who came out and helped real nicely. And I want to salute all those persons who have helped and continue to help for those persons who are unemployed, those persons who do not know how they can pay the rent. There are some people in this community who cannot pay the water bills, the light bills. There's some people who cannot pay for certain things. We must help. I went into some homes, they don't have proper toilet facilities, they don't have running water. So we as a group must step up to the plate, and we must look at how we're going to raise funds. And I want to say to you, you know, I believe that the government is doing a fantastic job. Our Prime Minister is really fighting and doing a fantastic job. And don't mind the whole rhetoric about things. I'm going to explain certain things tonight. But I want to say to you, right, that we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. And we want to continue it, right? Now I want to go forward and look at some of the things that we need to be done in St. George North. You know, I asked myself, my good friend here is here. My good friend Bull. I call him Bull, Holman Adamson. And, you know, he has been with me for a long time. We ran boat together as youngsters. We came up together. Of course, my brother's here too. And I asked myself why I came to public life. You know, I came to public life during the era of Tom Adams, really. But it was my sojourn at Progressive Youth Club that taught me a lot. It was the many nights that we argued and debated on the steps of that school what needs to be done. what has to be done. And then out of that, the challenge was that we want somebody who will come to public life to help and stop people from being poor. And I want to salute that phrase, however, was made popular by Owen Arthur. Owen Arthur once said that the reason why you come to public life is to stop poor people from being poor. And that's why we are here. We come to public life to help. And I want to say it, that I was given the opportunity. It was Jack Waddell and Louis Tell that brought me up, but it was the Progressive Club more than anything else that strengthened me and helped to ensure that I am here. And it was out of that was a challenge, that we want to be able to help to build better roads, to provide better schools, better sporting facilities, housing for the poor. This is what we really wanted to do. I did not come to public life to become a minister. And I want to make this quite clear, because there are some people who believe they come to public life and that's all they want. You don't come to public life. If I was never a minister, it makes no difference to me. You know what makes a difference? I want to be able to do the things for the people of my constituency. When you see roads being built, when you see the sporting facilities that being done, when you see a complex like this, where you have community center, a post office, and a police station that we would be asking for a long time, that's what I want. I want to see good street lights for people, the bushing, good agriculture and industry. You look around St. George today, after 26 years, I can say we have a big industrial plant at Low Estate. I feel happy that that has come. A big industrial plant at Low Estate. We were able, after 26 years, to provide about 500 housing solutions. I do not brag, but I'm saying to you, the Barbers Leopard provided this here for the people. 500 housing solutions at Flat Rock, at Constant, Groves, Cottage, and you name it. And of course, at Low Estate. So we were able to provide housing for poor people. We were able to give housing for poor people the lot at 10 cents a square foot. It is coming out of the tenantries program that was started by the Labour Party that we were able to accelerate. And I want to see more. I want to see more done for the people. I want to see more done for the people, not only of St. George, but of Barbados. You know what I wanted to happen? As we celebrate today 83 years of the recognition of July the 26th, 1937, I want to see more houses built for our people. You know why the people rioted? Let me tell you why the people rioted in 1937. They rioted because there were no work. There were poor housing conditions, dilapidated health service, and of course the political system. There was no democracy. And it's out of that came this. But I want to see this government. And when we started in 1994, I told the then Prime Minister, we want to have a land bank to be able to provide lots for our people. We were able to do a lot in our time, but I think we need now, more than ever, on the 26th of July, to remind the government that we need to create an atmosphere in Barbados where we provide more than 10,000 house spots for people across the Barbados. It's still a big problem. We still have a number of persons who don't own land. There's so many people in St. George and across Barbados who do not have the right to title. And if you do not have your title to your land, you can't own anything. You still have chattel. That's why you have the thing chattel house. So that we need to provide in St. George another 1,000 house spots. Across Barbados, I believe it's more than 30,000 house spots that we need to convert within the next 10 to 15 years. We have to do it. That's what the people rated. They red in 1937 because black people did not own anything. And we want, and the Barbados Labour Party, through the Tenantries Freehold Purchase Act, did it. So we want now this new generation to acquire plantations from wherever they are, whoever owned them, the expatriates. We want to acquire a plantation like Draxall, the biggest plantation in Barbados, and subdivide it for black people. We want to be able to give them at the $250 a square foot. We want to be able to provide house spots for your children. That's why I say that we came to power to stop black people from and poor people from being poor. That's what we want to do. So I don't want to be a member. I don't want to be a minister. I want to be able to work with you. And I think ministers should be full-time. MPs should be full-time. You're given a job. You cannot do two things at a time. Gone are the days where a member of parliament have 2 and 3 jobs in order to make things right. The state, if you want to have a member of parliament, should pay him properly. Pay the member of parliament and allow him to work in his constituency and do things the way it should be done. You know, for example, I cannot do it alone. A good thing, I have a good group. If I did not have a good group like Faye and Nigel and Teddy, I had a good manager, Clevie and Roger and all, and Jessica. You can imagine these people pull weight. You talk about pulling weight? I got a group here that pulls weight. And despite Bison is miserable, he pulls weight. So we have a group. I cannot do it on my own, but these are volunteers, you know. So you see St. George doing well. You see we win every box. What do you think we win every box? Because Cleveland go and beg for votes. Teddy go and beg. I never buy it. Do said Teddy in Mark Hill and the box up in Golden Ridge. Sweet Bottom Fair, know everybody. And we got people here who pull weight. We got a group that pulls weight, you know. I cannot do it alone. We got a group that pulls weight. We have persons like Johnson and Clinton that work hard. We got persons that can't come out on Saturday but come out on Sunday. Miller, Adventists, that make sure we get every vote in the Adventist church. Right? And Bascom. We don't want to say Bascom too well because he knows sometimes he has challenges. We see him now because the minivan they're working. He has to hold off because the taxi service isn't doing too well. But I want to thank all of you for working hard because we could not, and Fair talk about the 26, we could not do it alone. But there are some constituency groups that do not have the organizations that we have. We were able to give out all the vouchers that we had, you know. There's some constituencies have not given out theirs yet because we have a system. Not only this, my office is open every day. And that's why I say to MPs, open your office. There's some, and this is what the Prime Minister should ensure, that the government pays an office, open them in. There's some MPs who, and I must tell you, I have said to them that all politics is local. You go in a ministry and sometimes you forget about the people out there. You forget about your constituency. Open your offices and ensure that people, my secretary must come to work. I made no policy for that. She's come to work and she must work. Sometimes she may come at 10 or 11, but she works at 9 o'clock at night to ensure that people get the vouchers, to ensure that when people call, even if she transfers the phone to her home, she does that. So my office is fully open, and I still see people every Thursday evening. You understand that? After 26 years, you know, I used to do it Saturday and Thursday, not now. I do it mainly on Thursdays. But we still have constituency clinic, and people do not only come to you to beg. I want to make this quite clear because some MPs believe that people come to you to beg. Some people believe not so. A man might come to you, ask a question. People come to you, ask you, how can I do this? To sign a form. There's some, and I want to encourage all members of Parliament to get back to their constituency and work hard. This is why myself and the Prime Minister, and I want to thank Owen Arthur for this, you know why? Owen Arthur sat down after we lost in 1991. I lost in 1991, my first thing. And Owen Arthur sat down with myself, Prime Minister Mortley, and Ronald Topping and said, look, I want you to put a system in place, which we now have. He put a system in place to help us. And many times when he was Prime Minister, he would come to my constituency to see what we were doing a Thursday night. Come up there, sat down as a Prime Minister and see what we were doing, how we were interacting with people. And the politicians and members of Parliament must go back to their constituency and do things, find out what people want, how they can help. We can't wait till the next election. And the people are here, I must say, I cannot go on forever. You will see an article in today's paper that I say, well, I have not told people I'm not running or I'm not running. I have not said it. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm running. But I have not declared if I'm running or not running. But you don't know what will happen tomorrow, you know. Nobody knows what will happen tomorrow. But as long as I am the member of Parliament here, I'm going to do the job. Some people say to me, man, you're running away working so hard. That's nonsense. Because you have a lot of lazy people who believe that they must not help poor people. And that's why I am telling you, if you do not want to help poor people, there's no sense coming to public life. There's no sense coming, because it is a joy of helping people to ensure that they get some of the things that they want to get. We have to understand, right, that there's so many challenges, and it will continue. It will continue. It will continue as we go forward. There will be persons who cannot help themselves. They are most vulnerable people. And you must give persons that opportunity to help. I want to encourage all of you to do that. So that's one of the reasons why I came to public life, in order to help persons to think. Unfortunately for me, I joined a good political party. You know, I must tell you, when I was president of Progressive, I was the youth guru around here. I used to belong to them, and I would encourage people to join youth groups, to join community groups. They don't have that many now. But I was fortunate to join the Barbados Labour Party, a good political party. Now, I was fortunate because I was never a lazy person. When I joined the Barbados Labour Party, it was Nigel Barr and Jack Waddell. Now, Jack Waddell like me. I was like a son to Jack Waddell. And we worked hard. And Jack said to me one day, let me tell you something, I don't have to look very far when I depart, because you will be the next MP. And then he made a lot of ground for me. He introduced me to everybody. Because he knew the type of work that we were doing. And he introduced me to Tom Adams. And Tom Adams decided, look, he said one day to me, and a good thing for me, I just said the Barbados Labour Party is a good party. And I can say without a doubt that despite our leaders in the Barbados Labour Party are good and fortunate, because they come from the same tradition. Mayor Morley is from the same tradition as Bernard St. John, honest. Tom Adams, we can't do the things that our forefathers would be so, you know, if I would do something wrong, I always remember Bernard St. John. Bernard St. John sat on the back bench. I want to tell members, while we were in government, he never came as a minister, you know. He sat down on the back bench and helped me at the Ministry of Housing. So people ask me, how were you able to do housing? How were you such a successful minister? I had Bernard St. John there, who told me, this is what you got to do in housing. These are the things you have to do in order to ensure that you have a good housing policy. It was he who told me that they must link Oistins and the Glebe St. George. The first person who told me that. There's a link between Oistins and the Glebe. So when you heard about the tongue in St. George, it was the Glebe was supposed to be the link between Oistins and St. George. And it was his concept that helped me to organize and develop the Glebe market. This is what we did. It was Bernard St. John who did that. But then Tom Adams said, look, I like this young man. I used to do all the research for Tom Adams. That way I encourage young people to come out and work for the party. You got to come out and work for the party. It was Tom Adams who decided, I was at university then, he said, I wanted you. And then he took me and sent me over to Toronto. I was vice consul in Canada. Work. So when he came back here, I then went on with Henry Ford. So I was very close to leadership and do things in those days to ensure that the Barbados Labour Party become the party of choice. And the manifestos that we were able to produce, they were able to explain to me what was the purpose of the Tenantries Freehold Purchase Act, what was the purpose of the various laws that Henry Ford was able to produce, the family laws, during his first term in government. We did the things that we were able to do, and this is one of the reasons why I'm saying that we need the young people of this party must get up and listen and look and see what ministers are doing, see what the government is doing, see this program that the present Prime Minister is doing, the housing program, the program to help stop poverty. And I'm glad to see that she was able to move the poverty alleviation, the urban and rural development to her office in order to ensure that there's equity across Barbados. The Urban and Rural Development Commission, two important commissions, because over the past 10 years before 2020, before election, Democratic Labour Party didn't do a single house in St. George. I don't know why the Democratic Labour Party, how they existed. And that's one of the reasons why we say that the 10 years of the BLP administration was the 10 lost years. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. So we have to do a number of things now to relieve poverty, the poor housing especially. You know, during our time, we were able to build two bridges. When they talk about those two bridges that we built in St. George, one at Erie Hill and one at Belleair, you know why we did those? No, but you want to know why we did those? Let me tell you. One evening, I was going to Erie Hill, and a young lady said, "Man, Mr. Clark, I lost my baby. I lost a baby. I had a miscarriage when I was going through that gully, and that hurt me to the core. That hurt me." And I said then that we will build a single bridge. The Democratic Labour Party had promised the people since Dowding that they were going to build a road, a full road, to put cars and so on. Can you imagine that? I said, no, we don't want a bridge, we don't want a road. We want a 3-lane, a 3-foot bridge so people can walk over. And today we have a bridge that people are walking over at Erie Hill, over that deep, deep gully. Then we did one at Belleair. Stop poor people from being poor. Why should poor people walk through grass and trenches and lines and gullies just in the dark of night? And there's still other things that can be done. Simple things. And I want to encourage all of our politicians, all of our members of parliament, to look at the simple things that can be done in your constituency, and let's do them. There's simple things that don't cost much money. You know what the bridge cost us? The bridge at Belleair cost less than $100,000. If they had put a road, it would cost us $2 million. A long, big road. We could not do it. But you want poor people to walk over, to stop them from walking the gully at midnight. Because that's the only way. If they don't go through the gully, they have to walk around 2 miles to get to their homes. That's the next road. And that's why we were doing these things. So I'm saying to you that there are opportunities out there, and we have done a lot of work, and work still to be done to improve housing. We have to do it. We have also did a lot of work for the schools, opportunities in communities. We have provided help in agriculture. Now, let's look at agriculture. St. George is an agriculture belt. I talk about industrialization. But we want to be able to see Buckley get back on its feet, though. We want to be able to see what is happening to Buckley. The Barbados Labour Party recognized that we still have to look at agriculture. In fact, during this COVID time has taught us a lot. I have seen a lot of young people now planting. I saw a lot of women with those half cans now planting some lettuce, some cucumbers, some thyme, some parsley, and those things. That's a good thing. We want to see more of this. We want because we have good soil in St. George. I want to see every family really developing some form of agriculture in their backyard. It is very important. And the government stands ready to assist you. Through the Ministry of Agriculture, there are a lot of programs that can do to assist you. I want to see more boys and girls joining the, not the 4-H, the 4-H club at your school. St. George had a vibrant 4-H club. I don't know how many of you know that. They raise rabbits. They raise chickens. And they do a lot of light agriculture. We want to see the community groups start the little 4-H in your villages. Get back to planting something. You mean you're going to buy everything? I am telling you now, I grew up with a father, Clevie will tell you, and those of you from Newbury, my father was very strict. Every morning, we had to get up at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock on the dot. Because my father was going to open the windows. The windows will be open. So the fresh air will be blowing upon you. So you can't sleep. So that you get up at 5 o'clock, you have to go and count the cow, count the sheep. You have to feed the chickens. You have to do something. But today, we have young people sleeping past 1 o'clock. Though, when night come, don't know what is an egg. Have never. I was going to say something about Bison, but I think I forget. Bison taught me a lot. Bison knows how to kill anything. Bison, I don't know how many of you know Bison. Bison is a butcher. Bison taught me how to kill a rabbit. Anybody here ever kill a rabbit? Yeah. You know how to kill a rabbit? A lot. How to pull down the rabbit, pull down all the rabbit. You know that? But the point is, young people need to know about animals. Young people need to know about weeds. Unfortunate for me, I don't think my children know anything about vegetables. We had to pick all the worms off the cabbages. We had to pick all the worms. Clinton, you know that? Pick the worms. We had to pick the cucumbers and sell. My father used to have the biggest cucumbers, nice pumpkins, and he carried them down every morning or every other morning down to town to sell. So everybody was selling. We want to see that selling back in St. George. You know, fortunately, I have seen in my lifetime now that there's a market right here at the Glebe. Have you ever seen it? You see it? Every Saturday morning now, people come to the Glebe, they park their cars, they open the trunk, and they're selling produce from the market. That's what we want. We want to see more activity for self-employment right here at St. George. And we are going to do it at the Glebe. Self-employment. And the government has created the world wherewithal for you. We have, for the first time, a loan that was introduced by the Prime Minister called the trust loans. That trust loan is designed. Now, some people, I saw a businessman who told me, man, don't mind you, that trust loan in that. About $5,000 you get to start off a business. But that's good. And you don't have to have no credentials. You don't have to have no collateral. You start up a business, you apply, and you get your $5,000 and you pay back the money over time. Seed capital. And when you pay back that money, it shows that you are a business person and you can really get going. You'll get locked up, Mr. Baxel. Mr. Baxel said you don't pay back. No, we know young people are paying back. You're going to have a few people who are not going to pay. But generally speaking, everybody is paying. So I want to say to you, the government is trying its best to put the facilities in place for you. We have to help as well. I am going to ask the Ministry of Agriculture to continue to expand our education, our opportunities right here at the Glebe. I have already spoken to the Minister of Agriculture, and we are supposed to get a few more shops at the Glebe. There are people who call me every day. Said, only this morning, a young lady called me at 6:30 and asked me, do you have any more shops at the Glebe? I want a shop that they show up here there. I want a shop that they show up here. That's what she tell me, I said there may not be any shop by the show pier, but we might be able to set up another 4 or 5 shops to the east of the show pier, where young people can do their own business. When you finish, I can come to you. But the point is that we have to provide more opportunities for the people of St. George. But there are opportunities for vending. And you know what the government is doing? The government, for the very first time, is setting up a system where we decriminalize this whole thing of vending. We want to encourage people to vend. Do you realize right now, I see people at Market Hill selling. I see people at Flat Rock selling. I see people at Newbury selling. I see people, and they're selling a lot of coconuts, vegetables, and all sorts of things across St. George. And that is a good thing. People are trying to help themselves. And I want to encourage all of you, all of those persons who are hearing my voice tonight, to spend at least $100 every month, at least $100 with local vending. Don't spend all in Shafek. Don't spend all in Kentucky. At least buy something on Friday nights. In fact, nobody cooks on Friday nights anymore. Everybody buy a little foods, chicken or roti from the local company. There are people who are making rotis. Do you know that the number of people in St. George who are doing a lot of cottage industries? You know what the cottage industry? Making little jellies. Some people are making jellies, making sauce. Bison can make seasoning. Bison is very good at seasoning, but you're just lazy. Bison should be selling seasoning. There's nobody in here who could make better sauce than Bison. I encourage you. Cook cuckoo good. Let's go beg for the little cuckoo. Let's go beg Bison. So what the point I'm making, if you have a talent, let's use it. Let's use it. And we, in the Bible Slayer Party, will help you. So I want to say that this administration under Mayor Motley, is doing its best. And we want to be able to continue to do the things that we have to do. When I first came, I set out a program to improve St. George. And we have done a lot, but we still have a lot way to go. And there are lots of people I know that are willing to help the Bible Slayer Party in St. George. We have a great constituency here, but we want to encourage all of you to help. You must help. You must come forward and help. You must do the things that are necessary. We cannot do all ourselves. We cannot do all ourselves. We still need additional street lighting. We still need various debushing, clearing of lots, and so on. I want to encourage all those persons who own lots to clean them. There are people who own lots but have not put their hoses on them. We want to encourage you, because some of these things encourage violence, and there are some people who will think. But I want finally to say to our people, especially our young people, I am sure that you understand that Black lives matter. All lives matter. Before you take a knife or a weapon, please ask yourself the question, what happens next? Because there are lots of people who are not asking themselves this question, what happens next? Where do I go from here? And you have to, if you can answer that question, because some people don't understand. You take law into your hands, and then you end up in prison, or then your mother cry, she didn't know this, she didn't know that. I want all of us to think and help our young people. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have said enough. I have been able to challenge you, and I hope that you would encourage your community, because as I said from the outset, this is not for the Labour Party only. Our meetings is to help the communities. There are people in Constant that need your help. The people that are new. The people in Rose Park sometimes don't come out. They need your help. We are our brother's keeper across St. George. And I want to encourage all of you to stay safe and, of course, be vigilant of this COVID-19. Thank you.
you very much to our Member of Parliament, Mr. Glenn Clark. Even though that the question and answer is at the end, we are going to open the floor only to 2 quick questions or comments. I know the gentleman had a question. Can you please come to the mic, identify yourself, and do you want to ask a question? Thank you.
Yeah. Good evening. My name is Ulrich Maxwell, and I'm inquiring about the glebe we pay bills. All that in there is leak badly when it rains. Yeah? I think we'll know about it. Huh? The whole market here leaks.
I'm aware of that problem because it was highlighted to me. So we are planning to do a tour there within the next couple of weeks, and we hope that we can rectify that because of this social distancing, nobody really anticipated that you had to stay. 5 years ago, it was never anticipated that you have to have 6 feet apart or 3 feet apart or whatever, but it's a reality now. So everything now, it's a new revolution. We have to start over, look at what we are doing when we plan. But that's a good question. Thanks.
Yeah, and the next thing, the last point, the roads. Bridgecourt, the Link Road, Cottage Heights, all around that area going down to the St. Augustine's Parish Church, the road is very bad. Very bad.
Thank you.
And they can cause a lot of accidents. People run off the road, potholes, some massive potholes.
Right.
All right?
We started a road program when I was Minister of Public Works, but it came to an end when I left. And I left there in 2008. So a lot of roads have deteriorated over time. Myself and the minister and former minister, do good. We were on a tour, and we went to Bridgecourt, Workman's, all across St. George, really. We know that the road at Bridgecourt is in need of repairing. St. Jude's and Sweet Bottom roads, there's a need for a roundabout at the glebe. I want to encourage Minister McConney to encourage her colleagues to ensure that the glebe roundabout, because they have an accident there every day. Every day as they speak. It may look so, but Minister Duguay told me that the ministry can put up a tentative roundabout that should not cost very much money at all, if anything at all. So we definitely need the roundabout at the glebe. We need to ensure more street lights. And of course, we need to tidy up as we go forward. Thank you. Any other questions?
Good evening, Patrick Estwick, Rowans Park, South.
Thank you.
The wells, I understand the wells in our area, there's a well right outside my property between myself and Mr. Murray, and he let me know that he's been there for almost 30 years and only get checked once. I checked with Mr. Sutherland, and they started mapping out the wells across the constituency. So the wells need some attention. It's not been as bad as it was the last time around when we were expecting it to be bad based on what we expected over the weekend, but it didn't overflow. So hopefully we can remember to pay attention to some new wells in the area as well.
Thank you, Mr. Estwick. That's one of my students, by the way. I taught him at St. Jude's, a good boy, and he's from Rowans Park. But the question is wells. We have to be able to clean a lot of wells in Market Hill, Glebe, the down in Shara Bridge, and of course Flat Rock, Rowans Park. Those areas do not flood like Charles Bridge, but they still have a lot of flooding and need cleaning. And you know, the person who's in director of wells live right here in St. George, Charles Yearwood. And he goes to your church at St. Jude's. He's the director. But I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, and he assured me that he's going to make a tour. So if I could hook up with you, I'm going to ensure, and of course, we can ask Secretary or Jessica to take your numbers so that we could be able to find time with you. Only this afternoon, another guy from, he's from St. Helens, who told me that there's flooding there as well. So it is a real problem, and we're going to try and address some of those problems. But in your area, there's still a number of persons who own lots that have not cleaned them. And we want to encourage those persons who own lots, especially those persons who have lived abroad, have land here, bought land for their children, send back and clean them. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that contribution, Mr. Eswick. And we have the president of the DO here, Mr. Ricky Yard. So I know Ricky have very much noted that. Ricky is very much on the ground. So thank you for that. Without any further ado, if there are any other questions or comments, I just ask you to hold them until the end, please. We do have our guest speaker. She's been waiting a while. Thank you very much for joining us. She is the chairman of the party. She's also the Minister of Innovation, Science, and Smart Technology, Senator Kay McConney. Turn over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Faye. And I have to say, you all make me feel very special being here in St. George North. So thank you very much for inviting me to your community get-together as you sit to discuss the things that matter in this community and for Barbados in general. I first of all want to acknowledge Glenn Clark. I want to thank him. I believe it's 26 years, Glenn? 26 years and counting. That you have truly continued to build relationships in this community. And you're certainly one of those persons who will not just go to get the vote, but you have learned to get the heart of the people in this community and make relationships critical outside, inside, during, after elections. And from what the account that you have just given, you continue to do so, and you have a strong team that is helping you to do so now. I entered at a time when you were talking about COVID and the way in which this community, the way in which Barbados, the way in which the world has been responding in a positive way to helping those who are less fortunate. And we have spent a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of money, as much as we can as a country, to be able, and as a government, to be able to help people to keep their heads above water. Whether it is over 2,000 families that have benefited from the $600 per family award that was given, whether it is the more than $10 million additional that was given to the welfare department, up to 40% more, that is helping the welfare department to be able to respond to those persons who are most in need. You would know that even before COVID came, we had increased the old age pension by about 40% at that point in time. You would also know that for persons who could get certain relief from taxation, we had moved from $18,000 up to $25,000. Those persons earning $25,000 a year or less who would be able to get some relief from taxation, and then we move even higher up to $35,000, where those persons between $25,000 and $35,000 who actually had to pay a tax from month to month, once they filed their returns, they would get back every cent that they would have paid in income tax. So we have continued to give relief to those persons who are $35,000 and less, and those who would consider to be those in poverty. And not only has government sought to do it, we have been true to our values that this is something we must do together, and we have been able to go out there and solicit and get private sector support, community support, and everyday people to stand up and provide millions of dollars in support, whether it was vouchers or other things. So I just want to say thank you to you, Glenn, for the hard work that you have been doing, and to your team and to St. George North and the rest of Barbados for all that we have done in terms of making this special for us. And certainly making life a little bit better for people. Where we go from here now, Glenn, is something you just talked about. And that is where we now need to focus our energy. How can we move people to the next level at this point in time? Because we are here, we are not in an ideal place. I don't think anybody can say that they're happy with where we are right now. But the truth is where we are is where we are. And we are at a point where we simply need to accept it and then determine, okay, what is it that I want going forward? And then how can we support you in doing so? As a government, part of that means that we have to reskill some people, because there are skills that will be needed as Barbados looks towards its future, and people have to future-proof their skills. That means reskilling, that means retraining certain people in specific areas. One of the areas that I love to talk a lot about, and that is certainly falls within my purview, would be innovation, science, and technology. And that's a big, wide area, and I'm not going to go into all of that, and I'm going to do my best not to speak about it from a tech area, but from how it might impact the lives of people in this very room. People have heard of digital transformation. How many people have heard that term used in Barbados over and over the last while? This is almost the whole room. And for different people, it means different things. And I will say to you that for this particular government, when we think about transformation, the reality is if you're transforming, you have to be transforming from something to something. And if I can simply break it down as simple as I can in the from to, hopefully that will give you a better idea of what it is that government is seeking to do. Certainly in terms of how we serve people, because this is a people-centered transformation. We have to put people up front. It can't be the technology up front. It is how the technology will enable people to solve problems, to be able to do what they need to do and to make their lives easier. So we have to start with people first. And certainly what we have heard people say is, look, we want to get out of the line and we want to get online. And for many people who just experienced the COVID, the first wave of COVID, who ended up standing in lines for 4 hours and 5 hours and 6 hours and all days, you understand now what we mean by we need to transform the way we do business, the way we transact business, so we can get people out of the line and out of the hot sun and get them perhaps online in a way that will be beneficial to them first. Another from to is that we want to move from this kind of paper-based records to more electronic records, more digitally stored records, digital records. And that is important because if we are to serve people faster, more efficiently, it means that we have to get away from this being in the corner, in the cabinet, where an officer needs to get up from where she or he is to go across their search through the cabinet, which is perhaps not filed alphabetically anyway, to take an hour or two to find what they want for you to come back, and possibly take a lot longer to be able to serve you. So when we move from paper to digital records, we're able to search faster, we're able to store it more easily without all the paper that is also giving people all kinds of sinus issues and allergy issues. We are then able to better look at the health, and we are also better able to retrieve information so that we can serve you better and faster as a government. When we talk about digital transformation and modernizing government, we are talking about changing the processes. And when I say processes, it is the step-by-step way in which you get a service done. And I will give you an example. Recently, in collaboration with the Royal Barbados Police and the Attorney General's Office, the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology was able to work on changing the entire process for the certificate of character. How many people in here have had to get a certificate of character in their lifetimes, or know some? Again, this is a majority of the room. Over 26,000 people per year used to file for a certificate of character. And it usually required you go into the certificate of character office a couple of times, usually having to ask for time off work, and oftentimes, for some people, having to go back more than once, sometimes more than twice. And that was an inconvenience, and many people know that the lines outside the certificate of character office, those lines were legendary. We have now made that a fully online process in collaboration, as I said, with the Royal Barbados Police and the Attorney General's Office. And for many people, they get back their certificate of character within 24 hours. Now, the truth is, there have been some hiccups. And we all know that when you're doing something for the first time, it may not always work perfectly for everyone, but I am happy to tell you that for the vast majority, over 90% of those persons who are applying, they are able to get the level of service with the level of efficiency and level of speed. So that is what I mean. That's one example I mean by one, changing the process, where you can now go online and apply for that certificate. You can pay online if you choose to. And for those who don't have a credit card or a debit card or other card that they can use to pay online, you can go down to the post office. And the post office will then facilitate your payment and send the information through. And usually, even after you have done that, you will still get it back within 24 to 48 hours after you have paid at the post office. So what we are seeing is that is a new way, and that is over 26,000 Barbadians per year who do not have to go through what they had to go through before. That is productivity because you don't have to leave work. That is bus fare you have saved because you don't have to pay bus fare to and from on more than one occasion. So what we are trying to do is certainly to create ease. One of the other areas in which we have looked to modernize, and you will have heard it recently, certainly from the national insurance, where we are seeking to do away with checks. This is the piece of paper. You go to national insurance or other parts of government, they write a piece of paper, give it to you, or they mail it to you, and you take that and you go to whether it's a bank, the post office, or to a vendor, supermarket or others, and you cash that check. And it is all a very manual process that requires a whole lot of people and a whole lot of steps. The National Insurance Scheme, NIS, announced a few months ago, and I believe they would have announced it again. I see some shaking heads, so you have heard the announcements that they are seeking to abandon checks as of September 1st. I am glad that there are people who are happy to hear that. Here is the reality we are facing. And this is where Glenn was talking about us making sure that when we are in government, we are taking care of everybody. Because we recognize that there are a number of persons who are of a certain generation or a certain mindset who are not comfortable with the use of the technology. And what I will say to you is, starting this week, well, not this week because today is Sunday, starting a new week, starting last week, our Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology, in collaboration with NIS, we deployed over 20 digital ambassadors to NIS building, and we helped over 400 persons who were there to sign up for the direct payment into their bank accounts or their credit union accounts. In other words, you no longer have to go down to NIS, stand up in those lines, wait for hours, explain yourself 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and all of the other service issues that Barbadians have been complaining about. NIS is now seeking, certainly from a payments perspective, to make that easier. And MIST, in collaboration, are working with our digital ambassadors. And let me tell you something about our digital ambassadors, because this is an important part of Barbados' digital transformation. We understand that there are some people in Barbados who are further along than others. They will adopt to technology, they're more comfortable with it, they have a different confidence level. And there are some people who, if you just show them, they can pick up right away and they can get it. But then there are other people who are not like that. And so, as part of the Ministry of Education's Give Back program, where the Prime Minister, you would have heard, say that those students whose tuition will be paid by the Barbados government, that they have an opportunity now to volunteer their time and give back and say thank you to the people of Barbados by volunteering for full-time students about 120 hours, I believe it is, and for part-time students 100 hours per year in volunteer. We have now recruited a number of those students, over 200 strong, at the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology. The short, we call ourselves MIST, M-I-S-T. And we have trained them. They have been trained in customer service. They have been trained in adult learning versus how children learn, because most of the time they're working with people, and their job is to hold the hands of Barbadians as they learn and as they adapt to the new technologies that the government of Barbados and the private sector will be putting in place over a period of time. In other words, you do not need to do it alone. We have put the digital ambassadors out there. They have signed non-disclosure agreements, and they have been vetted before. They also have their own Digital Ambassadors Council, and they police their own. And there is a zero tolerance for indiscipline within the group. And I share that because Glenn and others were talking about our young people. These digital ambassadors are the young people of Barbados who have chosen to own the future that we are creating with them. And they have decided we will go out there and help this country, person by person by person, to make the transition to digital. And so I want to thank them publicly for that. In addition, when we talk about digital transformation, we have talked about moving from in the line to online. We have talked about moving from paper-based records to electronic. We have talked about moving from manual processes to electronic processes. We have talked about doing away with checks and eventually cash to move into more card and digital type payment systems. And we are also looking at how you shop and how you bank. Many people are still familiar with Amazon. How many Amazonites there are in here? I see them. You see, so many of them. Again, that's not the way we used to shop. The way the world has changed is now moving, and this is one of the things that the experts are telling us. You see this change, the massive change that we had to do so quickly when COVID hit us. This is the slowest that the world is likely to change in our lifetime. It only gets faster from here. And I say to you, the world isn't turning back. It has changed. And really, I am just appealing to all of you and to all Barbadians to get on board. And for those persons who are older, or, as I said, are of a different mindset, where you believe that this is not for you, understand that you don't have to be alone. Find a family member you trust who will be able to support you. Find a friend you trust who will be able to support you. Find other people who are in the same boat as you, learning to transition, and collaborate with them. I spoke last weekend at another event, and one of the things that I said to them, and I will encourage you now, Glenn, in your community here, because this isn't just Barbados Labour Party supporters here, this is the community of St. George North. Use this facility and others like it to put on support courses for the persons who are having challenges making the transition. And don't start with people doing things that are hard. Start with people doing things that are relevant to their everyday lives. People want independence. They want to be able to handle their monies themselves and not have to ask somebody else to do it. Simply collaborate with one of the financial institutions and do a course on how to use ATM. Make it practical and hands-on, not anybody talking at you and giving you theory, but here it is, you stick it in here, here's how you put in your numbers, and let them do it over and over and over again until they're comfortable. Right now in Barbados, as we make our digital transformation, everyone will be asking for an email. Many people say, well, I don't even have a computer, don't understand Wi-Fi. This is the time where community now comes together. And you are able to show each other the basics of what is an email and how to create an email and how do you keep your passwords secret so that people you do not trust, who may be living in your own house, so that they don't take advantage of you. It is those basic practical things that is now about future-proofing the skills of our entire communities to be able to move towards the digital future that, as I said, the world has already changed. Many of you in this room, please don't think it hard. Many of you own one of these. Who in here does not own a cell phone? There is not a single soul in this room who does not own a cell phone. You all know that WhatsApp, which a lot of you are busy on, only started in 2019, you know. No, not 2019, 2009. Who would think that barely just over a decade later, it would be so pervasive a thing in our lives? And many of you know how to send photographs. You know how to forward messages. Some of you know how to send your location. If something, heaven forbid, happened now and you needed somebody to come and give you a lift, you can send a location from here. And those of you who don't know, I will teach you that today before I go. Happy to do so. Happy to do so. But I am saying that you are already on your way. You have the devices. You have your iPads, you have your tablets, you have your phones, you have the devices. Now it is simply to determine how you want to make it relevant to your life. How do you want to use these devices? And that is another area in which this community can help each other. Each one teach one, learn together so no one is ever alone in this transition. I shared the transition about the national insurance. I shared some of the work we have done with the certificate of character. There are many other areas that are coming. There's new regimes where we are now putting online the liquor licenses and the other licenses that are required for you to host functions, etc. There's another ministry doing that, and my ministry, of course, collaborates with all the ministries as it relates to the technological work they're doing. I will say for my ministry as well, the renewal of driver's licenses, the payment piece is coming. I did say to Barbados that I would launch that at the end of last month. The system is ready. However, there are certain checks that I wanted to ensure were done so that when we put it out there, I have every confidence that we have done everything we could as a country to make sure we have kept the people of this country safe. And so I trust that you will appreciate that I held back so that you could be safer and happier. And I want to say also that many of you would have heard of Easy Pay. Easy Pay Plus. It is government's payment system so that if you want to pay anything in government, eventually Easy Pay will be the way that you will do it. Right now, in fact, over the last year, we have put on 47 of the professional licenses that people need to practice. Whether you are a paramedic, whether you are a contractor, whether you are an architect, whether you're a quantity surveyor, whether you are the number of different professions out there. Before you used to have to go down to registration and pay your licenses, you may now pay them online via EasyPay. 47 more licenses we have put online. And the ones we haven't put yet are those of the doctors and the lawyers and the nurses. but the process that they use is far more complicated. For example, some of them have to go and they have to do certain courses which then need to be verified, etc. And until we work with the other partners that are part of those steps, for now, we will continue with the 47 others we have put online. So I am sharing all this to tell you Barbados' transformation has begun. The modernization of the public service has begun. The way in which government transacts business with its people, that transformation has begun. Have we done it all? No. Understand that we can't do all one time, but we are gradually adding with the intention that every single service that you can access from government and pay for especially will indeed be online over the next few years. So that's just a little bit about the background for the modernization and digitization project. Now I want to talk to you, I want to start a conversation with you. We have not launched it yet, but I want to start a conversation with you about the National Digital ID. You may have heard the Prime Minister speak about a National Digital ID. And over the next few months, we will be giving you more information about what it is, what it means for you, what services will be available, and how you can use your new smart ID card, which will be coming out in a few months, to be able to access your digital ID. Now, I am going to break it down as simple as possible. Again, we all know this. Our nice blue, I heard somebody over there say obsolete. Yeah, yeah. You will recall that the only time you can use this to identify yourself is if you are physically standing up in front of someone with this in hand. And if you're going to a bank or a credit union or certain other places, they also want from you not just this, but what else do they want? Their driver's license, what else? Your passport, and possibly a bill from your house with your name on it to prove that's your true address, etc., etc. Absolutely. So what happens is, just as this holds information about your identity when you face people face to face and you transact business face to face, your digital ID will hold information about your identity when you transact business online. You understand the difference? Now remember, this is an ID card, but this is not your ID. This is not your identity. Your identity is bigger than the card. There are certain aspects of your identity that are captured on the card. But, Glenn, where you went to primary school?
St. George.
St. George Primary School. Is that Black Glenn Cart that went to St. George Primary School you? Yes. Glenn Carr also owns a driver's license. The licensing authority has a piece of his identity. That's the same Glenn Clark. And when you go to the registration department for your birth certificate, is that you too? That's also a Glenn Clark. So I share this to say our identity is more than this piece of card. This piece of card captures information about our identity, but our identity is all those different things that make up who you genuinely are, who you authentically are when you go to identify yourself to anyone. Correct. And so what we're saying is your digital ID It is your identity, but there are ways in which you can access it using what, and there's a new word that you will hear a lot, something called a token. A token to access your digital ID, which means when you're online that people can identify you as who you genuinely are, as who you say you are. You will have a new Barbados Smart Card that has greater security on this, because you know the minute these edges start to fray, the people to whom you carry them will tell you can't use it anymore, because it's so easy for somebody to slide this out, stick this in, and create a counterfeit card. So, your new Barbados Smart Card, which will be a token to access your ID, so it will have information about who you are, just like this has information about who you are, but there are parts of it that people will be able to see, and then there are parts that they cannot see that are all part of your identity. You still with me? Excellent. So basically, more will be coming on this. What will you be able to do? There are a number of services that you will be able to access just using your ID. And we are finalizing those services now. We are in conversation with the licensing authority. Who knows? Maybe your national smart ID, your smart card, might also be your driver's license too. So you may not need two pieces. We are also in conversation with the welfare department. I met with them 2 Fridays ago, and we are talking with persons who are clients of the welfare department about how we could make the new smart card, which is a token to your digital ID, how we could make that work for them so that many of them don't have to have multiple pieces of card and IDs, etc. And it is the clients of welfare who have been feeding us information that will allow us to build out this system in the proper way, in a way that would also cater to their needs. And we are also having conversations with NIS and others. The intention is that this, your new digital ID card, your smart card, will be able to do more for you, perhaps even get you on the bus, without your having to exchange information, exchange paper, or to be necessarily there in person. As I said, this is just me introducing it to you in this forum. Over the next few months, before we release it, we will come back to you and we will give you more information and we'll have further conversation, because we understand that for many people this is a shift, and we want to make sure that first you understand, then that you are educated on how it will work for you. And then we issue the tokens, and then we show you what services you will be able to access. So there is a stepped process: awareness, education, the issuing of the card, and then eventually your ability to be able to access those services. And for those of you who are a little bit more tech savvy, you will also be able, remember the word I introduced you to just now, a token? Remember, one way for you to access it will be through your new smart card. Another way you can be able to access your ID will be via your mobile phone. And this is another token that will be used for you to be able to access that ID. So you can walk into an institution, pull up your ID, they will authenticate it, and then you will be able to go. Another thing you would be able to do with that ID, the same things that you now need a regular pen and paper to sign, we will also be added digital signature. That once you use that ID, online or in other ways, there's technology there. I will not go into the details of the technology now, but I see there are some people here who truly understand it and are nodding their heads, where you can sign using that ID without needing pen and paper. Remember, the world has changed. It is going digital, and it's not turning back. We need to now future-proof the systems in Barbados so that we too can participate in this new emerging economy. And people say, why? One, because the expectations of the people we serve have changed. You heard when I announced the digital ID, there was applause coming from the back. People no longer expect to go and stand up in line for hours to be able to do things. People's expectations, I need to be able to go online and do this. I need to be able to use my phone and do this. I need to be able to use my tablet and do this. The very people we serve, their expectations of how we do business as a government and just in general, their expectations have changed. Another why is because of competition. The rest of the world has gone digital. And if Barbados does not catch up, we will not only be left behind, we will be left out altogether. And the third why is because of relationships. We do not live in a world by ourselves. Others around the world are requesting that we interact with them through digital. And where Barbados is unable to do so, they are simply saying, I'm sorry, we cannot do business with you any other way. So whether it is the expectations of the people we serve, it is Barbados' ability to compete globally. We have a number of people who have skills that can be sold internationally. In digital fields and in others, but they use the technology to be able to do so. If we are not putting in place what is necessary to enable them, it means that those jobs that Glenn is talking about, Barbados alone cannot feed every single mouth. We have to be able to export our talent, export our skills, export our services in order to be able to do so. And that means we need to put the infrastructure in place in Barbados that will allow people to go digital as a labor force, as well as for all other purposes for which we. I am going to pause at this point. I could possibly go on for a while, but I believe you have heard us speak enough. And I am certainly open for any questions at this point.
Any questions, comments, please feel free to come to the mic, please. And please identify yourself. Jessica?
Good evening, comrades and members of St. George generally, party chairman, member of parliament, deputy president. The selection of the speaker for this evening, I think, is critical. On the airwaves, you hear all the everything. But what we've heard from you today, Minister and Chairman of our party, is the behind scenes that are happening that will equip all of us, the old, there are a few of us in here, and by old not necessarily in age, but there are many who fear the technology. I have a walking partner who's 74, insists on walking from Workman to the post office to cash the pension check, but listens to Donald Trump on TV on her tablet every day. And I keep saying, but so-and-so, and I'm going to sit with her, because you don't need to walk down here. But the point is, what you are sharing with us is information that we need to take back to any and everybody that we know. And this is why this meeting was not really structured as a branch meeting exclusive, but a meeting of the community. I know certainly when I shared it with people in Rowans, I don't know if you got it through that chat, but to say it is a political entity hosting the meeting, but it is a meeting that will help us as a community at large. And so what you have shared is just the tip of the iceberg, but that is critical. And why I feel so strongly about this, I'm 64 now. At 17, for my CXCs, I had to prepare with a book called The Machine Stops. man-made feature, people living in a machine, etc., written at the turn of the last century. So that book by E.R. Forrester is now over 100 years old. But it talks about some of the things, voice over IP, food that was not necessarily peas and rice and lettuce and so on and so forth. But the point is, technology is here to stay, as you rightly point out, will not reverse, will move at a faster pace, and we better catch up and keep up and not be fearful. So out of this, I hope we will all go home, and I will to my, as I've been trying, 93-year-old mother to say, but mommy, you got to be able to do, even though we do for her. But these are some of the things that this government is doing to ready this country for advance on an equitable footing with the rest of the world. And I say that to say, I get real tired sometimes of this rhetoric and the calling over and over and over by the same callers every day about the same things. And I hope the opportunity will come when you will be one of the presenters from David Ellis, hopefully will hear this urge, to help us be ready and cut some of the political claptrap and get on with some of the real meat of the matters that we have to be involved in to advance us to the next stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jessica. And I very much endorse that, because we as a branch, we've been trying to move away from political meetings to community meetings. And I really think that we need to rebrand our meetings and probably just refer to them as St. George Community Meetings, or we could come up with whatever name it is. But I urge all of you to share the information, to invite people to these meetings. And like I said, it is not just a Barbados Labour Party meeting, and that's why I said when I started that Mr. Clark, he's here to represent the community and Barbados and Barbadians in general. There's a young lady in the audience. Oh, sorry, Kay, thank you. Yeah.
I just want to make a comment to what was just said by both persons. And I'm going to throw a challenge out to you. Every one of you, and if you have a mother, a sister, an aunt, someone at home, you and one other at least, make it a commitment that by the end of August, you will know how to use an email and have one. That's all I'm asking. Because BRA will ask for it as you move towards your online filing, and we've already started to do that. The national insurance, they're asking for it right now as they're seeking to move people. As we move towards your national digital ID, we are going to ask for an email. And now is the time for you to start getting comfortable with something as very basic as owning your email and understanding how to manage it securely. Get together in your groups at church. Ask the church to hold an email seminar. Get your branch and the communities here to do it. Join together in the schools. Take the people you eat lunch with on Sundays, and you all make Sunday after lunch your technology time. You give yourself 2 hours after you have eaten to learn how to do something. I am just imploring you, if you do nothing else, commit that by the end of August, you will have an email and know how to use it and to protect it. Anybody in for the challenge? All right then, this is good to see. All right.
Minister, I must say that your challenge here today is very important. And what we will do as a group, we will ask some of our technical people who are technical savvy, like Mr. Miller there, who is a computer guru, like Faye, and some of the others. If we can open up this venue every week, once a week, maybe Sunday afternoon, and invite persons who want to learn who want to know how to use the email, can come here I believe that we can do it. So we want to use this as a challenge and ask our people to spend at least 2 hours here for the next 4 weeks. Then we should be able to do it. So we want to get it done. So that I'm going to invite those persons who do not know how to use the email, who you don't want to tell us this today, but we want to encourage all the persons across St. George and St. George North and South, and persons who can come to the Valley, because the Valley has, it is quite easy to get to. Anybody who can't use the email, who don't know the basic, we want to come here. So we want to ask Faye and Roger to ensure that we use this center over the next 4 weeks to have persons knowing the email. Because the minister says that by the end of August, everybody in Barbados, regardless of your age, should know how to use the email. Is that true? So anybody here who don't tell us now, you can sign up. The secretary has paper, but we want to start our course from next week. I want Roger and Faye and Miller to start. Give us some of your time tours. And if our minister wants to send a resource person, feel free. But we want to start it right here at St. George. And this is very important because let me tell you this here. I went into the bank quite recently. And the bank told me, I accustomed going to the bank, Bison, to change my check every month, to put in the check. The bank tell me, Skipper, we don't take no check no more. You got to now do it at the ATM. So everything is online now. And they're asking for an email. Now, I must say that I am forced to use it. So everybody, if you go to, I went to St. Motors this weekend, and all the questions, can you give us your email? Can you give us your email? We want to send everything by email. Everything is now filled out online. You can't fill out the Bible, write it in a pen no more. So we want to start it right here. Come to the mic, come to the mic.
Thank you.
I was in the bank this week, Scotia, and I went to pay my credit card over the counter, and they wouldn't allow it. They take me to the machine, and I had to take up my debit card, and they had to do it by that, and show me how to do it.
Right. So they're not right. So we are going forward as a country, and this meeting is very important. And I want everybody, by the end of August, everybody in St. George North who don't know the internet should know it. That's the basic, and know how to do things. So we want to start the course right here at the Valley. Mr. Miller wants to ask a question.
I just want to say, Mr. Clark, just make sure those of you who are going to facilitate these, make sure that wherever you are, like this building, has Wi-Fi. Because that is the way they need to connect. And make sure it has adequate Wi-Fi. Because if you have 30 people, that's different than the amount of bandwidth you're going to need for if you have 2. So just make sure that you have thought these things through. There may be places where you need for people who cannot bring their own device. There may be people you may be able to rent some, or you may even be able to come together as a community and buy devices in bulk, and then people pay back as they can. I mean, there are all kinds of programs you can put in place to move your community digital. Hold on.
Thank you very much. Give me 1 minute. I acknowledge young lady, then Mr. Miller, and then you. We'll go in that order, all right? Thank you. Can you please yourself?
Good evening, sisters and brothers. My name is Michelle, Sister Michelle. I'm from Ashbury, St. George. With protocol already being established by Sister Jessica, I would just say good evening. Yes. I want to first commend the Ministry of Innovation and Technology for obviously being so insightful to go forward with technology even before the crisis. But no, there's a crisis, then of course advantages and disadvantages must be identified. And for me as an essential worker, I would have been following the smart technologies hints and their videos to give encouragement for us while we were working. The unfortunate thing though, and I didn't necessarily want to bring it now, but for the family that was identified at the particular video was a nuclear family. A nuclear family that was obviously not in a dysfunctional state. The population in our country, unfortunately, is represented by dysfunctional families and a high percentage of maternal-led families. It's a very matrifocal kind of society. And Glenn identified earlier that he threw out this kind of responsibility that he wanted men to be more than sperm donors, but to be responsible fathers. And he wanted them to participate more actively in their children's rearing. Unfortunately, in a crisis situation, these particular behaviors and behavioral modifications are not easily achieved because they're entrenched and they're deeper than what we perceive. So the poverty that you would have seen because of this crisis, I see every day because it's my job. So as an essential worker working in the pandemic, it was extremely hard because my daughter was being managed by my mother, who is 74. She had to learn Google Classroom quickly. That was supported because we were at a private school. So it's different for the family now who did not have this support. So when those persons now we would have identified as vulnerable and we can mitigate in future now as a going forward plan, these are the families that are easily, we can target and say, well, these would have been high risk anyway. So now that we have them as part of in our face, what can we do to ensure that we can protect them not only from the perspective of giving them access, but rather empower them with information, change their psychology, the psychology of poverty, which I find is overwhelming, like psychology of dysfunction. So when I saw the family, the mother and the father, they were in a nice quiet environment, there was no music. It's not what I see on an everyday going out there and the masses of which we represent. And because I know our party is concerned with the general population, we speak about bringing everybody forward together, and that's why we are starting with the email and we are starting with the ATM. We recognize that we've passed that, we've been into holographic kind of conversations. So even in understanding where we're here and we need to get here, we need to do the interim, and that is what we're hoping to do through the community interaction. What I would want to say now, obviously because I represent nursing, is that I would like to see information technology reflected in our nursing as well, because there are so many different types of stimulations that can be given to the student nurse experience that would help give them a better chance at passing their regional exam, because obviously with the new way that nursing is taught in light of the COVID and beyond COVID, there are ways that we can improve the nurses' workload. But as you rightfully said, it is the perception. So all of the workers have been following in the 2019 workshop, the big thing you all had, the first thing, and one of the things that the guy highlighted was that perception. So I could immediately, that the perception of the digital ID would lead to persons to think of immediately siege of character. So how do we get them not to think that? By letting them know that that is not what it is, first of all. You know, like how persons talk about the New World Order? So the conversation about is vaccines a New World Order, we need to understand those realities of the underlying subculture conversation so that we can deconstruct them early and not have a kind of ostrich mentality because we understand what's happening. When we go out there, even in terms of dealing with simple issues, for persons to understand and buy in totally, like what they've done, we need to get them to totally understand what is the modus operandi. And I find that, you know, with the older persons and the younger persons and persons who are not necessarily feel like they're participants in the country, there are a lot of persons that feel disenfranchised for whatever reason. Those persons are the challenges. Those are the persons I can't get to take their diabetes medication. Those are the same persons that I can't get to take the diabetic medication is the same person I probably can't get to use the ID. As the same person that will continue to have a whole family legacy of poverty. And it's those persons that challenge me the most because those are the persons I interface with every day. And I thought, and I wouldn't say I thought, I can see that the Barbados Labour Party has taken this pandemic as a kind of a conduit to be able to reach all of those families successfully. So I celebrate with you. Thank you. But help the nurses, right? Help the nurses to be able to, because I mean, no, you shouldn't have a nurse pulling a patient. There are devices that can slay the patient. There informatics, there's nursing informatics, there's telenursing, there's teleconferencing. There's all kind of ways, there's ways for me, as a midwife handling my patients, nobody offered my patients a laptop. They offered students laptop, but they didn't think of the woman that was home that needed to have her antenatal care. So I had to create social media workshops so that they can have their antenatal care. That is my job, so I can't expect commending. That is what I'm expected to do. But I'm saying that these things have to be identified. For example, in our disaster preparedness, when a person comes in and have a temperature, did we put a side room for persons who might have a temperature that came to the disaster preparation? All of those things we're constantly thinking about how we can improve and make things better for our communities, how we work together. And St. George North is community oriented, so you don't got to worry about us. We can get it done. Thank you.
I want to say thank you so much for that comment. One of the important things you said is that you want help for your nurses. You identified areas, specific areas, where you saw opportunity. And I think one of the things that this time allows us to do is to become our own innovators. That means that you find another community of nurses in another part of the world, perhaps, or even locally or regionally, doing the same thing you want to do, and create a project. So you don't have to do all of those areas you identified. Pick one project. It might be identifying those particular types of technology that will allow you to move a patient more easily. It might be a telenursing project, and then be able to bring things forward project by project by project. Sometimes the way you make a big leap is to start with a step and not try to do the whole thing all at once, but pick a project, make a small leap, make a win with that, and then be able to expand it. So there are different ways for you to make this change, and I say own it, get other like-minded nurses, get the association, the nursing association on board, build a project, and then knock that project out of the ballpark. Those people who are then more skeptical, when they see success, they are far more willing to try the next thing. And so you use success to build confidence and to bring more people on board, and you take a project approach.
Thank you very much, Michelle and Minister McConney. Mr. Miller.
Good evening, everyone. Mrs. St. Clair. I want to thank God that you all would have brought this talk this evening. It's very important, very informative. I have a number of questions, and they're basically all tied in. I want to ask you, ma'am, Ms. Faye, right? How would the youth get involved in helping in St. George North?
Thank you very much. Let me just say that I am not that young these days. Young as I feel. Thank you. Glenn's office is always open, but we do have plans for this resource center so that it is not seen as political. We are aware that a lot of young people shy away from politics for various reasons. So like Glenn would have said, we have some projects on board. The reality is that right now the center has not reopened as yet. That is the truth. We have been given permission to use it this evening, but it is not fully functional because of COVID. But we have some plans in the works, and I am willing to have a conversation with you afterwards to see some of the ideas that you have and how we can work together. So that is the best response right now, because COVID has put a halt on various things, but we are willing within the branch to work with everybody in the community, especially the young people, because we want to know how they want to see this community advance.
Okay, thank you. The next question is for the Senator and Minister, Miss. Is the Easy Pay, you say it's a government pay system, is the Easy Pay in the future going to be available for the public to use as their payment gateway?
I'm not sure what you're asking. So right now, you can go on and you can log on to EasyPay, and you can sign up for an EasyPay account, and you can pay your land tax. You can pay a whole bunch of different things on EasyPay right now, today.
Okay, I understand that.
So I'm not.
The question is, let's say, okay, this is the challenge. This is something that's actually happening right now. Persons want to use and sell their skills online, like what you spoke about. However, the payment gateway that they have to use, PayPal or Stripe or one of those, and you know, when you sign up with those, there's a waiting period before you can get your money and all that stuff. And they do charge you sometimes at 2%, which is in the US dollar per transaction. Now, all this is revenue that government can get, providing that EasyPay is also available for the public of Barbados to I want to purchase something from you. You have a site, and I want to purchase something from you. I want to purchase your dress for my wife. Good. I want to purchase that. And so I pay you through the EasyPay. The government still gets the 2% or less, hopefully, of the transaction fee, and you get paid, you get your money in your account, say, by Tuesday morning or something like that. So what I'm asking is EasyPay going to be available for?
Not at this moment. That is certainly not within our plans, but government is also looking to expand what they call the payments ecosystem, which is all the different aspects of how people can pay, be it government or others, in a national digital payment system. Now that is being worked on as well with the Ministry of Finance and the Central Bank and others. And I am sure that they will have interesting things coming. E-commerce is also what you're talking about in a major way. We have not yet sat with the ministry responsible for e-commerce to work those things out, but I do know that there are alternatives to the payment platform. So my simple answer is on EasyPay, right now, no. Are there plans to do that in the future? Not immediate plans, but there will be other options that may be available for that.
Okay, because we are seeing that, again, right now, as we speak, we are seeing that there's a big need. Okay, if you want to, you can do it through your bank, Royal, First Citizens, and Scotia, and a few others. However, the fees, the setup fees are just crazy. And I hope there are some bankers listening. The setup fees are crazy. The setup fees alone sometimes is more than to simply build a site. So it's a challenge for us here in Barbados, and it's something that is really needed, and it's been needed quite some time. Thank you.
Good. Have you also checked M-Money, which is a digital?
Yes, I've checked M-Money.
Digital money.
I've found that selling the idea of M-Money, M-Money is good. It is. But I think that we need to be more the public need to be more educated on what is actually out there, because if they never heard about it, they're less, Bajans don't really take risks like that. And that's a fact. They don't really take risks just so. If they never heard about it, they're going to be very skeptical about it, as most human beings, but Bajans are very particular with that. So they've heard about PayPal. Oh, I never heard about M-Money, and so they don't want to go that way. They would prefer to go the PayPal route. Well, I would like to get them back into the local, basically keep the money inside the country. And the government can make some very good revenue. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that contribution, Sinclair. We're going to take one. Oh, that was not a question from me? Okay, all right. We have been. I want to ask a question. Okay, our MP wants to say something, but before I turn over to our MP, there is going to be a white envelope circulating, and I would like you to dig deep and put in generously. It doesn't have, we don't necessarily need to call it subs. because you may not necessarily be from this branch, but let's call it a contribution. All right, so the envelope will be circulating, and we just ask you to give generously.
Yeah. Minister, I want to ask a question about the use of cash. Now, all of us like cash. Everybody likes money. Do you see the use of money as cash becoming obsolete very soon in the near future?
Yes, I do. A number of countries are already well on the way. Scandinavian countries are doing significant work in becoming totally cashless already. So it is going to happen faster than we think. There are lots of risks associated with moving cash. There's costs, currency exchange rates, and those things. So cash will eventually be something that will not be a part of the way we do money or the way we do currency in this world. How soon that will be for Barbados, as you know, we're already moving from checks. The next step will be to move from cash. But that is not tomorrow. We will move the country with us. We will not get ahead of the country. We will certainly seek to move the country along with us.
Because I noticed that you were talking about the tokens, and I understand that many countries are now using tokens. The whole cash seems to be something that will disappear very shortly. And I know that Barbadians, traditionally, everybody likes to put cash in their pockets. Payment by cash. I think very soon we have to look at the payment on the bus and the ZRs. We need to look at that. Payment at the shops, so that there will be a whole transformation over the next couple of months, where persons will have to do a number of new courses. We have to train our people, because it is not easy to change people's habits. It's not easy. So I believe that your ministry and the government must come out to events like this, organize across the Barbados, to see how we can get people to understand and to buy in these various changes. Because as you mentioned a while ago, we are not going back. We are going forward, and we're becoming a digital world. So we must catch up with the world, and so on. So I would just want to encourage all of you to let's embrace this new digital world. Let's go forward with it and see how we can help our families, because it's going to be difficult, really, for persons above a certain age to adopt. But of course, I believe that, just like what Jessica said, she's now trying to teach her mother and family. I believe all of us have to do the same thing, because this change is really upon us. It's really incumbent on all of us not to be left behind. It can be very embarrassing. For example, years ago, we used to do tax returns. No, you can't. I used to do tax returns by hand. Nobody do tax returns now by hand. You got to get in the computer and do it. We have all changed. You can pay all your tax bills and your various bills online today. The world has changed. And I want to compliment the ministry, really, because only a couple of weeks ago, I had applied for police certificate of character for a youngster, and he got it back within 2 days. 2 days. Under the Democratic Labour Party, you couldn't get a police certificate at all. It took months, years to get a police certificate of character. But thank the Ministry of Smart Innovation who have done that. So, and the police certificate of character is a must for business. You see? But now you can get it back within 40 hours. And that is good. So I want to tell the world that Barbados is easy to do business now. It's becoming easier and easier to do business. But it is only going to be easier when everybody has got to do the change. You got to know the change. You got to go with it. As I said before, I went in the bank, and tell me, Skipper, I can't take no check no more. You got to go to deposit it out there. And very soon, they're going to tell you, we ain't carrying the money. There's some countries like Norway where they don't use cash. Nobody use cash. You go to the gas station, you got to use your card. You go to the bus station, you got to use coins and so on. Nobody take cash anywhere. So Barbados, we have to change. And that's why we want to use this meeting to encourage other branches to do likewise and to encourage other community groups to do likewise so you can teach people all across Barbados that we are doing and we are going the right way. Thank you.
To Mr. Clark, and I would like you to refer to your manifesto as we continue to go through these periods, because this is all in keeping with part of our manifesto promise. I would like now to ask Comrade, because we're about to wrap up, comrades, if there's any other dialogue, we can have it offline, but we've been meeting for a while. I'm going to ask Comrade Coppin to give us the vote of thanks.
Madam Vice President, Member of Parliament, Mr. Glenn Clark, other members of the head table, media, ladies and gentlemen, we were privileged to hear from our chairman of the Barbados Labour Party, Ms. Kay McConney. She's also Minister of Innovation, Science and Smart Technology. This evening we were privileged to hear of a number of things. Some I will just mention, so that I'm sure that when we leave here, we will leave with these things full in mind. Money was well spent over COVID period. There was an increase in the old age pension. We also enjoy taxation ease. She also said to us that we need to reskill and retrain. And the digital transformation and its benefits, they were explained to us. For example, the NIS payment and certificate of character. She also advised us to use support courses within the community, and I'm sure St. George North will respond. It was mentioned of our national ID, and I look forward to that. Online business, we're going to be having our smart card, and I know this smart card is going to include our license, our driver's license. We won't have to walk around with so many cards. St. George North would not be left behind. Barbados would not be left behind. Ladies and gentlemen, get on board. Our chairman, we are very thankful for you. Anyone who missed this meeting is worse off. You shared us with lots of information. We are extremely thankful for all the information that you gave us this evening. And we're going to try as much as possible to share with our colleagues who unfortunately could not be here. May God continue to bless you and your ministry. I'm now in a position that I'm better off to represent Barbados Labour Party and this ministry because I talk politics every day. I always interact with someone about politics. So I'm now better off to speak about this ministry and the things that you all are doing. And I'm very, very pleased with all the information that you share with us. I want to leave with you that we are going to do exactly as you say. We're going to get on board with the courses. We're going to train and we're going to retrain here at St. George North. And I hope that Barbados in general will continue to do likewise. Once again, thank you very much and God bless you and your ministry. Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, comrade. As we are about to wrap up, we ask you to please join us for some light refreshments. Know that you're not confined to the interior, but please go on the outside and enjoy our beautiful lawn area. All right, thank you very much. Oh, thank you very much to Ricky and the entire team for streaming. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks, everyone. Please get home safely.